Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Look at this poll. This is insanity. Summoner is easily the best class in Terraria, and I will not tolerate this slander. And to prove it, I'm going to beat Master Mode on the For the Worthy Secret Seed, making it Legendary Mode, a step above Master Mode, and adding in new AI and sizes, and on top of that, many difficult world generation changes. And I'm gonna do it all as a summoner the whole way through, and not touch a single other disgusting weapon. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy the painful experience of summoner only Legendary Mode. Also, please subscribe. It's free, and I'm really trying to get to 100k by the end of the year. Please. So the first course of action in this world is to cut down some trees. Sometimes when you hit a tree, a bomb falls out. It's a little inconvenient, but it does break the tree instantly. And then I kill myself a bunch of times. This is to get a bunch of tombstones to hopefully spawn Abigail's flower. Now also in For the Worthy, most times water on the surface is replaced with lava, so that makes traversing a little more difficult. And after creating a literal graveyard biome with how many graves there were, Abigail was not spawning, so I decided to spelunk into the caves. Now the stuff down here wasn't too helpful. I found a mace, which obviously I cannot use. I then died in the caves, and then died by a raven that was chasing me because of the graveyard. I then used a gravity potion to hopefully find something like a living tree so that I could maybe get a finch staff, but then a chimera killed me. So I just went further into the caves, found some emerald and made an emerald hook, which will help with traversing this world without a weapon. I then found a magic mirror, and I just kept mining, finding life crystals, platinum, and getting 1 or 2 shot by enemies. Legendary mode is brutal, and even with full lead armor, a piranha does 120 damage to me. But I was basically just killing time until Abigail shows up, just hoping for it, and I teleported home because I was terrified of a spore bat, and I was greeted by Abigail's flower right in between 2 gravestones. And now I finally have a summon that can do damage for me. I can't do any damage myself, but Abigail will do it for me. Now the problem though is that Abigail sucks, because every time she hits an enemy, she has to stand still. So the enemies are already moving away, so Abigail has to catch up to do any damage. So I try to traverse the world with Abigail at my side, but she just cannot keep up. She can't kill any of the enemies. So instead I head east, and I do find some living trees almost at the end of the world, and there wasn't a single living chest inside the trees. So considering I have full platinum armor and Abigail, there's not much else to do but head into the snow biome. In the snow biome, I could find flinxes, and it was a long and excruciating task to kill them. I had to box them up and let Abigail do 1 damage at a time to it. Considering it has 280 health, it took forever, but finally I got 2 flinx fur. And after a bunch of farming flinxes, I was finally able to make the flinx staff, which is a much better summon than Abigail. I also made the flinx fur coat, which is the only summon armor you can get pre-boss, and it gives me an extra summon, so now I have 2 flinxes. But I still don't have a whip, so I decided to build some houses to hopefully get the zoologist. And she does move in, and I'm able to get the leather whip, which does summon damage. So I'm finally able to inflict some damage myself. And now with what feels like a thimble of damage, I'm able to head into the jungle. Maybe I can actually kill these enemies. An atrocity that they made in For the Worthy is that hornets explode in stingers. And after dying a few times and heading back to the jungle, killing all the enemies I needed, I had enough ingredients to make the snapthorn. The snapthorn is considerably better than the leather whip. It does more damage, has more tag damage, gives a buff where whips attack faster when you hit with it, and can inflict poison. Now, if you don't know why whips are so good for a summoner, it's because if a whip has 6 tag damage, that means that every summon that hits the enemy that you hit with the whip will do that much extra damage. And what's really important is this stacks. And since the leather whip does 4 tag damage and the snapthorn does 6, that means that my minions will do an extra 10 damage. I smash a crimson heart to hopefully get the goblins to spawn, and then I feel an evil presence watching over me, and I'm not prepared for the Eye of Cthulhu, but I'm gonna fight it anyway. Now I would have liked a summon potion, and I definitely would have liked a platform of some sort, but with Hermes boots it could be possible. But I'm doing good damage. The snapthorn and leather whip with the flinxes is doing a lot, especially considering this is legendary mode Eye of Cthulhu. Once it starts dashing at me like a maniac, it gets a little scary. What the Eye of Cthulhu does differently in For the Worthy is it'll do a spin attack where it sends out a bunch of servants, but really my whips and flinxes took care of them easy, so it really was no problem at all. I'm still hanging up in the like 200s health. It gets down to under 500 health, and it's getting a little crazy now. I get to about 150 health, but I get a heal pot off, and just like that, the Eye of Cthulhu has been defeated without even a platform. I then fish for variegated lard fish. I then decided to challenge the Brain of Cthulhu. Now nothing prepared me for this, because it's considerably bigger than usual, which meant that I was getting tossed around them like salad. And they did so much damage to me that I just got rolled so quickly. But then the goblin army arrived. I kind of just used the flinxes to cheese it mostly. I managed to not die during the whole event. I then opened up the Brain of Cthulhu arena a bit more. Summoned him again, hoping to just get some tissue sample. I wasn't expecting to win, but I got smoked before I could even kill a single creeper. This time around, I'm full buffing. If you didn't know, the Reds potion on For the Worthy gives 3 random buffs for 30 minutes, and I managed to get the Inferno potion. The other ones were useless, but I was doing a lot of damage really quickly, but once again, I got comboed and died in 3 hits. But there was a good amount of tissue samples that dropped, so I fought it again, not expecting to win, but I got the broken armor debuff, which really hindered me because that lowers my defense by half. And once you've killed all the creepers, it flips gravity, and suddenly I'm upside down and I get destroyed. But with those tissue samples, I was able to make the Deathbringer pickaxe. With that, I got a Hell Forge, and now I can make obsidian armor, which I could only make the helmet and the leggings of. And now I cleared out a much bigger area for the brain with a good amount of platforms, and hopefully now we'll be able to defeat it. It's going a bit better this time. I don't want to get hit because those debuffs can be brutal, but then I get broken armor and just die instantly. I then walk into my own house, which is my first mistake, because one of my flinxes collides with an explosive bunny, which insta-kills me. Yeah, if you didn't know, For the Worthy replaces 2/3 of bunnies with explosive bunnies. And then a blood moon rises. Now with the blood moon, I can actually get a new summon. So I use a magic conch to go straight to the ocean, and I start fishing. I then pull up a zombie merman, and this is not too hard to fight. I just fly over it when it gets close to me, and just like that, it's been destroyed, and the vampire frog staff drops first try, and now I have a new summon. I then start shimmering lightning boots to recraft it and hopefully get warding. Obviously, I wanted warding because menacing doesn't do that much early game. Plus 4 defense will be much more useful. But now with Hellstone, I could make the imp staff, which is really nice against the Brain of Cthulhu because it full pierces and inflicts fire on the creepers. And the creepers went down so easily. This made the biggest difference in the world. But as soon as they're dead, I get flipped upside down. Now I prepared for this with the platforms because all I need to do is grapple and then let go, and with the Featherfall potion, I can just glide and get a bunch of distance on the brain. And my summons auto-target the right brain, which makes it super easy. It's also burning, so I know exactly which one it is. And just like that, the brain has been defeated, finally. I then found the Tavern Keep, which is really helpful because I do want to fight the Old One's army. So with a Gravedigger's shovel, I terraform an entire mountain and spawn in the Old One's army. I wasn't quite able to beat it the first 2 times, but I decided to switch to the Ballista Rod, which helped a lot because of their pierce, and I was able to kill the Dark Mage boss, which meant that the Old One's army had been defeated. It also means that I got the War Table, which increases my permanent sentries by 1, and I also got the Apprentice's Scarf, which increases my summon damage by 10% and increases my sentries by 1. I then spent a while clearing out a big area for the Queen Bee. It was really annoying because the jungle enemies would keep spawning and attack me while I was trying to mine and build. Then another goblin army spawned, so I just showed them who's boss. This really showed how good the sentries are at clearing events and waves of enemies. I then finally scoured the desert for a bar statue and finally got it. And then with my completed arena, I spawned in the Queen Bee. Now with my 1 vampire frog staff, 2 imps, and 3 ballista sentries, hopefully this is enough to kill the Queen Bee. Now the poison is pretty annoying, but luckily I do have a Bazaar to negate it. I do get kind of low at one point, but it's no problem. I regen it back up. I hone in my strategy a bit more. I am using the Featherfall potion. For the Worthy adds a lot of changes to the Queen Bee. It basically adds up to it being half enraged and just a little bit amped up. I get down to 1 health and I look over at my health and I realize I'm about to die. But by the time I realized it, I was already dead and I had failed the Queen Bee fight. But now I kind of know what to expect. So I fight it again with the same buffs and same strategies. But this time I'm just going to be a bit more wary of the Queen Bee's dashes. They still catch me off guard though and do like 100 damage contact. The Queen Bee is also considerably larger than usual, which makes it much harder to dodge. And without a Shield of Cthulhu, I obviously can't dash into her to negate the damage. I have to use my grappling hook to get a lot of acceleration, which I've gotten very used to. And just like that, the legendary mode Queen Bee has been defeated. I then fought it again because I do need a lot of beeswax, and I did get the honeycomb accessory, which is pretty nice because I can turn that into a stinger necklace, which I then shimmered to get warding, and found a golden bunny, which I then sold to the black market trade. And now that I've beaten the Queen Bee, the witch doctor moves in, which means I can buy a pygmy necklace at nighttime and an imbuing station for flask. And also I made the bee armor and the hornet star. Now with the hive pack, the hornets actually shoot much faster, which makes them actually a viable summon. I then decided to fight Deerclops. But real quick, let me tell you about something more fun than Deerclops. Today's video sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the best vehicle combat combat game on the market, and it's available on PC and consoles right now. You can command over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations. From the classic propeller planes and armored cars of the 1920s to the modern fighter jets and tanks of today. Personally, I love the aviation combat. It's so much fun to just fly around and shoot other players. Some games design aviation combat so poorly, but this game did it perfectly. It takes some skill, but it's easy to pick up, it's realistic, fun, and immersive. Also, War Thunder is heavily optimized, so that means you can run it on even low-end PCs, and you're still gonna get some high frame rates and impressive visuals. War Thunder's intense and realistic combat can easily suck you into the grittiness of warfare through some incredibly detailed vehicles, impressive graphics, and fantastic sound design. It'll put you right at the helm of some of the most powerful war machines of our time. It also features an in-depth customization system with countless camos, historical markings, and decorations for any vehicle type, so you can decorate your little war machine just the way you like it. Join the other 70 million players worldwide for some immersive PvP battles today, because there is literally nothing that matches War Thunder's realism and breathtaking experience. With so much high quality content to discover, there's nothing that comes close to War Thunder for fans of military simulations and history. And best of all, you can use the link in the pinned comment or in the video description to sign up for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox. If you make a new account or you haven't played for the last 6 months, you receive a huge bonus pack filled with things that give you a head start in the game, including multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 8 days of premium account time. That's over a week. Make sure to be quick because it's only available for a limited time. Thank you so much to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. This couldn't be possible without them, and make sure to show them some love. Let's get back to the video. Now, the only reason I was really fighting DEATHBOT was hopefully to get the sentry. I also used the explosive mine sentry for this boss because DEATHBOT is always touching the ground, so he'll be constantly walking over the mines, doing a bit of extra damage. And yeah, DEATHBOT is really no problem, especially with a warmth potion. It really does not much damage at all. And then for DEATHBOT the second time, I ended up dying right before it died, but it doesn't matter because DEATHBOT sticks around, and I just got another pneumatic horn, which is completely useless. So I didn't get the sentry, and I just gave up on it. Then randomly, while I was on the outer third of the map, the King Slime spawned, and he was absolutely massive. It caught me so off guard, and he did 120 contact damage, which is a big deal. I was taking big damage. I took refuge on a living tree, but the King Slime teleported into me and did a lot of damage, so I was really close to dying, so I had to bait his teleport to fall. I then dodged an attack with a Brain of Confusion, which was really lucky, and luckily the King Slime reduces in size as you damage him, so he really shrinks down, and the King Slime has been defeated. And the real reason I was there was to set up an arena for Skeletron, and as soon as it ticks over to night, I select the Curse of the Old Man and summon Skeletron. Now, Skeletron's head is huge, which makes it really hard to dodge. It's actually a miracle that I didn't get hit as it spawned. But yeah, I'm using the Hornet Staff with the Stingers are doing a good amount of damage. I have the Ballista Rod shooting some ballistas at it as well. I'm doing good amount of damage to the hands, but Skeletron does big damage to me. I need to be really careful. Any contact damage with the head is like 140 damage, and considering it's massive, it's really hard not to get hit. I then grapple straight into it, take a bunch of damage, then the hand hits me, and I'm under 100 health. I destroy one of the hands, and now there's homing skulls, and also dark casters are now spawning, which is another addition of For the Worthy. But I'm getting a good amount of regen, grappling to dodge. The second hand still hasn't been destroyed, but finally it goes down, and now it's just the skull, but it's shooting homing skulls at me, and there's dark casters also shooting projectiles at me, and without a dash it makes it really hard. But I just keep circling around, dodging the homing skulls, keeping my distance from the dark casters. Honestly, they weren't really that much of a problem. They spawned in, they teleported towards me, and then I just kind of moved away from them. They were really not that much of a problem. I didn't even see their projectiles much. The sentries were actually coming in clutch because they were hitting the dark casters before they were able to shoot at me, which stun locked them, which meant I didn't even have to worry about the projectiles. So I'm now basically on full health, which means we basically got this in the bag. The homing skulls really don't do that much damage to me. They do like 30 damage. The main issue is contact damage with Skeletron's skull. And right at the end of the fight, he traps me inside of his spinning attack, but luckily I was able to get out of it and quickly killed Skeletron. First try as well. So now I headed down into the dungeon. I quickly find a bewitching table, which gives me an extra summon, which is insanely helpful. And with the bones I acquired and some some cobwebs, I made the Spinal Tap Whip. Now, each whip has its own special property about it. The Spinal Tap performs better against multiple targets than most whips. The Spinal Tap also does 7 summon tag damage, so that's another whip that we can use to whip stack. So now we're up to Wall of Flesh, and with For the Worthy Wall of Flesh, it is extremely difficult. You need a lot of preparation to defeat it. Typically, you need one of the 2 strategies. You need imp banners, or else the imps will utterly destroy you, or you need something that will stun lock the imps so that they don't shoot at you. So my main strategy was going to be the funnel strategy. I use this in my pickaxe only playthrough. Basically, the idea is that it'll funnel the Wall of Flesh into a small area. You have 2 thick platforms on the top and bottom that keep the Wall of Flesh in that area, and then you have 2 in the middle to block the lasers. Something annoying about the underworld in For the Worthy is that demons have a 2 in 3 chance of being a voodoo demon, which means I need to be very careful that I don't summon the Wall of Flesh upon killing it. I also created a minecart track in the middle of the funnel. It should allow me to keep good distance from the wall, keep a good acceleration while not even needing boots. But the minecart track is also to avoid the dart trap. Now you might be wondering, why do I need dart traps? Now they are strategically placed with 2 timers. One to activate the bottom dart trap and one to activate the top dart trap. And they're activated at different times so that they alternate shots. Now you'll see what this does shortly. I spawn in the Wall of Flesh. I quickly get to my funnel, and as you can see, the imps are deadly. They shoot fire that is very fast moving, and you can't destroy them with the whip or anything. But with my dart traps going, it means that they can't sneak a hit in. They get hit by the dart trap, and they're constantly stuck in a stun lock, so they can't shoot me with their fire. The only time they can is if they spawn on top of my funnel or below my funnel. But my funnel wasn't working. The Wall of Flesh actually broke free from the funnel, which was really bad because it started shooting lasers at me. The imps were also able to sneak a shot in because they teleport, they shoot the shot, and then get hit by the dart. And it does like 130 damage, which is really bad. Now, I didn't know why my funnel broke. I didn't know what was the problem. In my pickaxe only playthrough, this is exactly how I built it. But then I realized I didn't make the top part of the funnel 2 blocks thick. So I spawned it again, and the funnel broke again. It was going straight through the funnel. Something was still wrong with it. Also, I only got the Wall of Flesh to like over 3/4 health before I ran out of funnel space. So this was clearly not enough funnel. So then I thought to myself, maybe the legendary mode Wall of Flesh, with the eyes and mouth segment being smaller than normal, the funnel needs to be 3 blocks wide. So I went to work doing a 3 block wide funnel on the top and bottom. I spawned the wall again, and sure enough, the Wall of Flesh was correctly funneled this time around. Someone count how many times I said funnel in this video. So it was going really smoothly. The imps were mostly getting sunlocked. The wall got to under half health, but I ran out of funnel space, and suddenly the Wall of Flesh was shooting lasers at me, and it caught up with me. I got stuck in the houses and died. So obviously I need a lot more funnel space, which was really annoying to do. There were all the legendary mode enemies attacking me, and at this point the funnel was huge. So I decided that that was enough, and I spawned in the Wall of Flesh. But I forgot to set off the dart trap, so I teleported home and died. So this time I spawned it with the dart traps, and then I got stuck while trying to spawn in my summons and died brutally. Okay, this time I'm actually gonna summon it and hopefully beat it. It's all going pretty smoothly. I'm about 300 health, burning, but it's fine. I'm using my whip stacking to do as much damage as possible. The wall gets to under 1/4 health, but then I run out of funnel space again. I need an insane amount of funnel space for this fight. So I go and dig a bunch more mud, spend like another hour and a half building, and now hopefully we have enough to defeat it. Once again, it's going smoothly. Nothing's going wrong. I'm basically full health here. I legion a couple imps, sneak hits in on me, so I get pretty low, and the wall is getting much faster. The wall is getting very low here. I don't know how much more funnel space I have. The wall gets super fast. It only has 2,000 health left, 1,000. It gets blitzing fast, and just like that, the wall has been defeated. So hit that sub button for that epic display of gaming. But I didn't get the firecracker from the Wall of Flesh, so I fought it again. If I could beat it that time, I can beat it again, which I do. But again, I don't get the firecracker. I then fought the Wall of Flesh multiple more times, getting breaker blades and laser guns and clockwork assault rifles, until eventually I decided to change course and fight some black recluses in a spider biome. Now one of them hits me with contact damage and does 499 damage to me. That's what we're dealing with here. I use my sentries and summons and cheese it a bit to kill the black recluses. After some farming, I get the queen spider stuff, which is a new sentry. Now this sentry is really good. It inflicts venom and does a bunch of damage. Like, you can see the damage it's doing, and the fact that I get 3 of them is really nice. And eventually I make the spider stuff and the spider armor. So now I got spider minions, which honestly they're not great, but they're better than what I had. And with all this new equipment, it has made the Wall of Flesh fight much quicker. So I fight it 3 more times and finally get the firecracker. Firecracker. Now, the Firecracker is only really good with certain minions, and one of them is Abigail. Abigail actually becomes useful again. Once it finally started raining, that means the ice golems spawn in the snow biome. And after 3 ice golems, I got some frost cores and the ice feather. The wyvern was a piece of cake. I mean, Abigail just destroyed it. It was nothing. Then while I was lava fishing in the hallowed, an enchanted sword dropped a hallowed key. What am I supposed to do with that? The hallowed chest contains the rainbow gun, which I cannot use. It's magic. The only biome chest I would theoretically want is the desert chest. Bro, and my line broke on a hellstone crate. It then rained slime. The king slime heard about my plot to kill his wife, so he attempted my murder, but I just left behind a pool of jelly in my wake. And then after farming the underground hallowed enemies and crimson enemies with the souls, I made the cool whip, which I then made legendary. Now the cool whip does give tag damage. It also spawns a snowflake when you hit enemies and acts as if it's like another summon, but the Firecracker actually doesn't do tag damage. What it does is it causes your summons to explode when they hit stuff. And one night while I'm fishing in my artificial corruption biome, it tells me that it's going to be a terrible night, which means that the twins are gonna spawn. Now, I didn't buff. I didn't think I was gonna beat it because I don't have the right summon for this boss, and I was right. I didn't do too much damage to it, and it killed me. Then one night, it's a blood moon. So I decided I'm gonna try to fight Dread Nautilus. Now, I don't know how to fight this boss. I've barely ever fought it, and I don't know its attack patterns very well. My lack of knowledge with this fight really showed because it pantsed me. But I mean, Abigail just kind of sucks for this fight. The actual boss I'm gonna fight now is the Queen Slime. But I spawned the Queen Slime and it just wasn't showing up. And she teleports inside of me and does half my health. So I'm already half dead. I have to pop a heal at the start of the fight. But yeah, the fight's not going so bad. These things do a lot of damage. Like one projectile does 60 damage to me, and any contact from the Queen Slime does over 200 damage. Now Queen Slime doesn't change too much in For the Worthy. She more so just moves around a lot faster. And eventually I get her to second phase. Now it's just flying around. The Firecracker does make Abigail do quite a lot of damage. But in second phase For the Worthy, the Queen Slime shoots more projectiles, which is really difficult, and I ended up dying when I got her down to under 20,000 health. I fought it again and got her down to under 10,000 health before dying to more projectiles, and then the air starts getting colder around me. Now, if you've seen or played any For the Worthy, you know what's gonna happen. I didn't. So, once Skeletron Prime spawned, I was completely shocked to find out that his cannons destroyed tiles. Luckily, I didn't fight it completely over my base, but Prime just started bombing my platform, destroyed a bunch of my planter boxes, which luckily protected my house. So it could have been much worse, and now I know that that's a thing, but yeah, that caught me off guard. Now I'm getting a bit more used to the Queen Slime's attack patterns. The slam attack sucks in For the Worthy. There's like not a pause. She like jumps over you and then slams right down, which is really hard to dodge, especially without a dash. But then Queen Slime gets to second phase. I'm playing it more safe, but Queen Slime is kind of just a bullet hell. There's a lot of stuff going on. I have to make sure that I'm killing the servants, or else there'll be too many projectiles, but that's hard to do when I have to run from the Queen Slime. So hopefully my sentries are taking care of them. But eventually I was able to keep my distance enough, and I was on basically full health when the Queen Slime died. And from the first treasure bag, I get the Blade Staff. Thank goodness I don't have to fight it again. So now I have Enchanted Dagger summons. The Blade Staff is a fantastic summon, and it is a testament to how good whip stacking is. This is because the Blade Staff does a really low amount of damage, but it attacks rapidly fast. So I'm just going to use the Cool Whip, Spinal Tap, and Snapthorn as my 3 main whips. So with all this, I challenged the twins. The blades should tear through the twins pretty easily, but the thing with the twins is they space themselves far enough out most of the time that I can't hit them with my other whips. The Cool Whip just reaches, but the other ones don't really. But I mean, the twins are pretty textbook. There's not much different in For the Worthy. The twins are smaller than normal, which does factor into the fact that I can't hit them as easily. They have a bunch of other changes, but it really wasn't noticeable. Eventually, Spasmatism gets to second phase and starts spewing its flames at me. And because I don't have a dash, I got stuck in it and just died. And then it was a blood moon, so I fought Dread Nautilus a couple more times with the Blade Staff, but I'm just not used to its attack patterns, so it did kill me. And then fought the twins again, and this time, as soon as Spaz got to second phase, I switched to the Obsidian Shield just to make sure I don't get stuck in his flames again. Rhett dashes into me a couple times, which hurt, but I'm just keeping my distance as much as I can. And just like that, that, Spasmatism has been destroyed, and now it's just Retinazer. Now, Retinazer is completely fine, very easy to kill. It gets a second phase and starts shooting a bunch of lasers at me, but really the blade stuff is just tearing it apart. And pretty easily, the twins have been defeated. So now with some hallowed bars, I can make the Durendal, which is a new whip. This whip is really nice because it gives a 25% attack speed bonus for 3 seconds. I then use the worm food to spawn the Eater of Worlds. Now this thing is massive. I actually almost died to this thing, but that was all for a worm scarf for 17% damage reduction. I fought Dread Nautilus some more. This time I realized what was ruining me the most. I was moving too much when Dread Nautilus did the spinny attack. When it does the spin attack, you gotta stand still. It just spins around you. That was kind of hard to do when it had its minions out, but it wasn't that bad, and it dropped the Sanguine Staff. Now I didn't really need the Sanguine Staff, but I like never use it, so I thought why not? It's supposed to be the best against the Destroyer. So speaking of the Destroyer, it's time to fight it. The Firecracker works really well with the Sanguine Staff. I completely decimate a quarter of the Destroyer's health really quickly, but I then take 200 contact damage with a Wraith. So now I'm kind of on the run, making sure that I get my regen back up. The probes are kind of overwhelming. They're really big, and so is the Destroyer. Their size change is kind of crazy. I then almost get hit by the head of the Destroyer, but I purposely got hit by its tail so that I wouldn't get hit by the head. And it's just more of the same. The damage is kind of crazy, so the Destroyer falls to me pretty quickly. Then the Pirates invade, which were pretty annoying. Legendary mode as a summoner for events like this hurts a lot. A cannonball does like 380 damage. And after a lot of deaths, the Pirates have been defeated. I then thought to myself, where am I going to get some blocks that won't be exploded by Skeletron Prime's cannon? And then it occurred to me that dungeon bricks can't explode. So I farmed a bunch of dungeon bricks, set up a nice platform. I also replaced my wood platform with dungeon brick platform in the hopes that it's also indestructible. And then I spawned the final mech boss. Turns out that the platforms are destructible. So that strategy is completely out the window, but hopefully some of the platforms will remain. The cannon can't break them all, surely. And it started pretty badly. I got comboed real bad, took a bunch of hits, but my blade staff is doing a ton of damage to it because of the whip stacking. But I get down to under 80 health, so things are not looking good. But then I go a while without getting hit, keeping my distance to make sure I'm not taking massive damage. I'm not really targeting any of the hands. I'm mainly just going for the head. Destroying the cannon would be nice, but most of the platforms are destroyed at this point anyway. I'm just mainly letting the blades destroy the head. I don't need to destroy any of the hands if the head's destroyed. And yeah, because the blades just targeted the head and did massive damage to it, Skeletron Prime was defeated without destroying any of the limbs. With the hallowed bars that I acquired, I was able to make a full set of summon hallowed armor. Now this is really good armor. It gives me good damage bonuses and the dodge that hallowed armor gives. I then realized the Skeletron Prime completely blew up my entire village in the desert, which was really rude. Now I could have used the optic staff against the Destroyer. It is pretty good against him, but instead I'm going to use it against Plantera. I then spent a long time scrounging the underground jungle for life fruit, and now I have full health and the Aegis fruit. So now I spent a while making a big arena for Plantera and then spawned her in. Now with the optic staff, I'm using the Firecracker as it does lots of damage, so the explosions really benefit from it. But Plantera is big now. They made Plantera way bigger than she was. She also does a lot of damage to me. Now I'm doing a lot of damage very quickly to her, and first phase was really no problem, but once she gets to second phase, that's when her tentacles come out and things get really messy. She takes up so much of the arena, and anytime she latches, she spawns a bunch of thorns, which also do damage to me. And because of her massive size, I actually ended up dying to Plantera, and she unleashes this massive amount of thorns. So with that information, I opened up a bunch more of the arena, just give me so much more space. And I also made an Osagoth tunnel. Now the idea with this is that in second phase, I can just keep dropping down, keep going down, and Plantera can't really get me if I just keep running away from her. And that goes all the way down to hell. I then spawn Plantera again. Now her acceleration is also much quicker, which makes it a lot more dangerous, and she's a lot more likely to hit me contact. But I do have enough speed to mostly outspeed it. But anytime she does a contact hit on me, it does like over 100 damage. It was just more of the same stuff until Plantera got into second phase again. Things were going kind of crazy, so I decided to jump into the tunnel. And this isn't necessarily great for a summoner because I couldn't really get my whip hits in. So I just had to hope that my summons would do the work and I could get some whip hits in every now and then. And then after a bunch more descending, almost dying because I got stuck in a cobweb, a tortoise almost hitting me, Plantera was defeated. I managed to get the pygmy staff as well, which is the summon that drops from Plantera. Now with Plantera defeated, I can go to the witch doctor and buy the Tiki armor and the Hercules beetle. The Tiki armor is great for whip range and has a nice amount of survivability. So now I can head down into the post-Plantera dungeon, and there are two main things I want from the post-Plantera dungeon. I want Master Ninja Gear for a nice dash finally, and the Morning Star, which is a new improved whip. And soon enough, the Morning Star drops from a blue armored bones, and it does 239 summon damage without a reforge, insane knockback, 8 summon tag damage, and it gives the unique ability of allowing my summons to crit finally. But the thing with the Morning Star is it swings very slowly, but luckily with the Durandal buff, it swings considerably faster. And pretty soon after that, I get a tabby and a black belt. I then went through and looted the temple, collecting solar fragments, and with that, I could summon the solar eclipse. From the post-Plantera solar eclipse, I can get a certain summon weapon. Luckily with my Morning Star, the enemies weren't too hard to kill, but they did do a lot of damage to me, so I did die a couple times. Nailheads drive me insane. I don't know how these things haven't been nerfed yet. They are utterly broken. Like, I'm more scared of going close to a Nailhead than I'm scared of Mothron. And then after killing a bunch of enemies, my summons kill a Deadly Sphere Staff off screen. Then a Butcher kills me, but the Deadly Sphere Staff rains from the heavens. And that's all I really wanted from this event. The Deadly Sphere Staff is a really freaking good summon. And at this stage, I could get the Desert Tiger Staff, but I did not want to farm for the Desert Key. It just didn't seem fun to me. It's a cool summon, and it worked really well with the Firecracker, but I wasn't that interested. And now I only had one thing in my sights, and that's the Pumpkin Moon. The Pumpkin Moon is dinner on a plate for a summoner. This is like a feast. There is so much to gain from the Pumpkin Moon as a summoner, and there's literally nothing to gain from the Frost Moon. My Deadly Sphere Staff basically tears through all these enemies, and the Morning Wood is pretty hard. It always is pretty hard. I mean, I really struggled to take care of it, but it's no problem. The Morning Wood is our main source of resources here. It drops some really helpful things, but also the Pumpkin, and eventually the Pumpkin does spawn. It does massive damage to me, but if I keep my distance and let my summons do a lot of the damage, I do destroy it really quickly. It's just, you've got to watch out for those scythes. But pretty quickly, the Pumpkin falls to me, and I get the Raven Staff. Now, I don't think I really use the Raven Staff, but it is actually a good summon. It's really nice for single targets, but unfortunately, there is a better one that I'll be able to get. And then another Pumpkin spawns, and I absolutely annihilate it. No problems. And then that one drops the Dark Harvest, which is the only other drop I wanted from the Pumpkin. The Dark Harvest is another new whip, so I kill a bunch more Morning Woods, and that's the event done. From the Morning Woods, I managed to get a Witch's Broom. I can also make the Spooky Armor now, but I only had enough Spooky Wood to make the chest plate and the helmet. The Morning Woods also dropped a Necromantic Scroll, which is a fantastic accessory. But on top of that, you can combine it with a Hercules Beetle, and then it does 15% extra damage, plus an extra minion. Basically, the ultimate summoner accessory. And I spawned the Pumpkin Moon again, because I'm not quite done here. Now, the Dark Harvest is really nice, because it gives you another whip speed buff, which makes your whips even faster. It makes the Morning Star even faster. So I'm able to get the Durandal whip speed buff, the Dark Harvest whip speed buff, which both stack and make the Morning Star super quick, which just does insane damage. And the Dark Harvest also inflicts a dark energy on enemies that explodes, which is really nice. And after a bunch more farming the Pumpkin Moon, as if I got some more Spooky Wood and another Necromantic Scroll. So now I have a full set of Spooky Armor, and I have a Necromantic Scroll to put on in my accessories on top of the Papyrus Scarab. I then went and searched for a Martian Probe in the outer thirds of the map in the space layer before I realized that it's a post-Golem enemy. So I make my way through the ginormous Lizard Temple. It just keeps going, and I finally made it to the Golem's room, which is very small. I was not given much space here, which is really freaking annoying. Now, I had heard whispers about the Golem on For the Worthy. I'd heard something about it shutting out the lights and being really freaking tiny, but I ignored them. The Golem's always easy. The Golem is no problem. So silly me and my naivete spawned in the Golem thinking that I'd be able to defeat it. And yes, the Golem is tiny and jumps really fast and swings his things really fast, and the fire moves really fast, and everything is just crazy, and I'm doing a lot of damage to him, but I just cannot keep up. It gets really dark, I can't see anything, and the Golem takes me out. So I didn't know what to do. I had no space to fight this thing. So I went to Reddit, and Reddit told me that I could use actuators on the Lizard Temple to open it up some more. But that guy must have been smoking reefer, because you cannot use wire on the Lizard Temple. It just doesn't place. So instead, I elected to a different strategy called hoiking. All I had to do to get into the Golem arena was hammer a platform into a stair and hammer a block into a slanted block facing away from me. And then I glitched into into the lizard bricks. And then I could do the same thing from the inside to get out of the golem arena. So theoretically, I could enter the lizard temple, spawn the golem, and then hoik my way out and lure the golem into a much bigger arena. So I got to work on clearing a massive area for the golem. It was way bigger than it needed to be. I hoik into the temple, spawn the golem, hoik out, and challenge the golem. And this was not exactly easy. The golem shut out all the lights, so I couldn't see anything, which made this fight way harder, and I quickly died. But I forgot to flatten out the area, so I flattened it out and spawned the golem again. Now I used the strategy of having the map on my screen so that I could see roughly where the golem was, even though it was completely dark. I still couldn't see his fist most times, but it wasn't going so bad. My summons were taking out his hands, but I went into a skeleton archer, which completely ruined me. But I managed to bring it back a bit, and eventually the golem's fists were destroyed, and now it's just his body, but he's shooting a lot more lasers now and jumping like crazy. So it's really hard to hit him, considering I need to hit him with my whips to do the most damage, and getting close to the golem is pretty difficult. I do get the golem to the next phase where his head separates from the body, which now that means that the head is what shows up on the map and not the body. But it's going okay. I'm really low though, and then a random jungle bat that I couldn't see killed me. But I spawn the golem again, do more of the same stuff. This time it's going much better. I get the golem to its final phase again, and with the use of my master ninja gear, dodging the attacks where I can, trying to make sense of this fight and trying to figure out where the body is and not going into it, the golem has finally been defeated. And somewhere in that madness, I got a slime staff, which would have been nice early game, but hey, it's nice to have now, I guess, as just a trophy. I also got the sunstone, which is really the only drop I wanted from the golem. So funnily enough, the golem was one of the hardest challenges so far. They actually made the golem pretty difficult, which I commend them for such a glorious feat. And now it's time to fight the Martian Madness, my favorite event of them all. I'm being sarcastic. Now honestly, it shouldn't be too bad. My damage is good, and I do have a witch's broom for infinite flight, which should make the UFOs easier to beat. I do die a couple times to the enemies, and then a Martian saucer spawns. Now, the damage I was doing to it, because I was on a witch's broom and switched out my flight and movement accessories for pure damage, I was obliterating the thing. And soon enough, it got to its final death laser phase. It acted really weird and hit me with a death laser. Luckily, I tanked the hit, which is crazy to say as a summoner. And the Martian saucer was defeated, and I got the Xeno Star first try. My luck has changed. I finally got it first try. I finally got the thing from the Martian saucer I wanted first. Thank you, Terraria gods, for blessing me this day. I'm so grateful. And now we have the Xeno Staff, which is an insanely good summon. It absolutely obliterates everything in its path. I then spawned in the Empress of Light, and I kind of forgot to put in my summons, which was distracting me, so I took a ton of damage, but we should be able to bring this back, hopefully. Again, I was using a broomstick for infinite flight and swapping out my flight and movement accessories for accessories that do damage and give me survivability. And real quick, the Empress got down to second phase, like real quick. The Xeno Staff and the whip stacking was doing wonders. The damage was insane. I do get hit by the Sundance, but it was no problem. The Empress isn't bigger or smaller. The only difference with the Empress of Light and For the Worthy is she cycles between attacks much faster, but it's really no problem at all. And the Empress of Light has been defeated. But unfortunately, I did not get the drop I wanted, so I fought it again. And this time it was just as easy, destroyed like nothing, didn't get it, fought it again, and I got the Kaleidoscope Whip, our final and best whip, which I quickly made legendary. And now it does over 430 damage. And now I did the long task of making all my accessories menacing instead of warding. Now with a full menacing and damage build on this summon loadout, I only have 38 defense. I am very, very fragile, a glass cannon. If I get hit, I'm basically dead, but none of that matters because the next boss I'm gonna fight is the Empress of Light again, but at daytime. Obviously, daytime Empress one-shots you, so I'm not worried about my defense, only my damage. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but I hope it goes smoothly. With whip stacking, my Kaleidoscope attacks at a ridiculous speed. I have her attack patterns pretty memorized, so I'm able to dodge them with the broomstick, and I just dodge her attacks with the skin of my teeth and very quickly get her to second phase. Now, I'm barely dodging these lances, very close to dying. She's getting super low now, but unfortunately, I led myself into her everlasting rainbow attack, which killed me instantly. I try again, and as soon as she enters second phase, she kills me instantly because I was not prepared for it enough. I once again got her to under 30,000 health before dying again, but this time I'm still alive. I'm anticipating her attacks, dodging them where I can. I dodge the everlasting rainbow. She is switching between attacks really quickly because of For the Worthy, but she does her final Sundance attack. I dodge between them, and the Empress of Light has been defeated, and I got the Terra Prism. Prisma, the ultimate weapon. With the Terra Prisma, I should tear through everything. This summon is my favorite summon in the whole game. It's so good. And now with the Terra Prisma at my side, or I guess at my back, I spawn in Duke Fishron. This should be a breeze with the Terra Prisma. And yeah, it basically was. I absolutely teared apart Duke Fishron. I got him in second phase in about 10 seconds. And in third phase, it was super easy. Just dash when he dashes. Master Ninja Gear makes it textbook. And I mean, that's Duke Fishron. Super freaking easy. Shocker that when you beat Daytime Empress, Duke Fishron becomes a breeze. I then fought him a few more times and got the Fishron wings. The King Slime decides he wants revenge on his fallen partner, but I absolutely obliterate his slimy mess. I don't know why he even tried. And now I'm gonna fight the Lunatic Cultist. Now, it starts off pretty bad. I am taking a lot of damage here. I do still have my full damage build, which is a big contender to that. So I do get the Lunatic very low, but I do end up dying because the Lunatic just kept teleporting into me, which was really annoying. Before the worthy Lunatic Cultist does cycle between attacks faster, which was catching me off guard. That's why he kept teleporting into me. The Wyvern jumps in and decides to get absolutely mowed by my Terra Prisma. I do have the Broomstick build, so I'm all good. And now celestial creatures are invading. The first one I go to is obviously the Stardust Pillar. With the Terra Prisma, these pillars shouldn't be too difficult. I am weak, so if I get hit, I'll take a lot of damage, which is why I do die once. But the Terra Prisma is fantastic at knocking out all these enemies. The Nebula Pillar quickly gets destroyed, and then I head back to the Stardust and finish it off. And now with the Stardust fragments, I can make the Stardust Dragon Staff. Now you might be wondering why I got the Stardust Dragon when I have the Terra Prisma. It's actually pretty good to mix the Stardust Dragon and the Terra Prisma by using 3 dragon minions and then the rest Terra Prismas. Due to the dragon's range and its ability to attack from really far away, it's really good against Moonlord, especially in second phase. I could go all out on Dragon because of this, but the Terra Prisma is just really good consistent damage, so I wanted to use them both. And now I decided to finish off the Old One's army. Now this was no problem. I was mowing down these enemies. My Terra Prismas and Dragon were absolutely destroying everything in my path. Up until Betsy came along, which I wasn't able to kill her in time before the Old One's army destroyed the crystal, but I still did kill her. So I got a relic and it drops, but she didn't drop what I wanted, so I fought it again. Actually beat Betsy in time this time. It was really easy. Betsy is no problem with my strength right now. And with that, I did get Betsy's wings, which are my choice of wings against the Moonlord. I also bought some Valhalla's Knights armor pieces, just in case I want to get some more life regeneration and defense. I then went over to the Vortex Pillar. Now this one was probably the hardest out of all of them actually, especially on the Broomstick, but I switched to the wings, which made it a lot easier, and the Vortex Pillar falls to me. And now it's the Solar Pillar. Now I'm not cheesing it this time around because Summoner actually makes the Solar Pillar easy. I know, right? It's crazy. The Solar Pillar is nothing. When you have the Terra Prisma and the Dragon, they just target all the solar enemies. My whip keeps them at bay, and I was absolutely destroying all of them until a Crawltipede one-shot me. Made me go from 500 health to 0. But I quickly destroyed the Solar Pillar, and now impending doom approaches. Now begs the question, will I be able to defeat the Moonlord on For the Worthy Legendary Mode Summoner only? I start off doing massive damage to the top eye. I quickly switch to the left eye, and it is taking astronomical damage here. I just need to make sure I'm not getting hit because I am on a damage build right now, which means I can't take many hits at all. But I am using Betsy's wings, which actually allowed me to switch out the Master Ninja Gear as it has a hover ability. And with the Soaring Insignia, I can fly forever, hover forever, and it makes my horizontal movement really good. So I don't even need a dash. I can stay away from the Moonlord and get far away from it with the Betsy's wings without the need of Master Ninja Gear. This does eliminate a dodge, but I think it's worth it because I'm able to go straight for just more damage. And you guys know my strategy, Soaring Insignia and wings, just keep on the move. The eyes were absolutely melting. The top eye is almost dead at this point. The right hand eye is quickly destroyed. Now one of the Trio of Cthulhu's is out, which means I do need to destroy the others pretty quickly. The top eye actually destroys off screen. That's all thanks to the Stardust Dragon, as I was saying. It has a lot of range, so it did that all on its own. I quickly go over to the left eye, keeping my distance because I know there are 2 True Eye of Cthulhu's out. I get a heal, and once again, the left eye has been destroyed off screen, so now the core is all that's left, and it is taking massive damage here. I just need to make sure I'm dodging these projectiles where I can. I do get pretty far from the Moonlord, so it teleports to me, which causes a laser to teleport right into me, which means I'm now under 100 health, which is not good, but I drop down and dodge a laser and a bunch of eyeballs, which was very clutch. If I get hit by anything here, I'm probably dead. Now I'm just keeping sitting on the move, hoping a laser doesn't kill me. I whip it a few more times, and just like that, the Moon Lord has fallen to me, which means we have defeated, for the worthy, legendary mode, summoner only. And to celebrate, I hung up all the summons that I had found along my journey, including a starter cell staff that I crafted, and a finch staff that I shimmered, and the holy Terra Prisma on top. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this showed you guys that summoner actually is a viable class. A lot of you seem to think it's not, but trust me, it is. It's a good class as long as you know how to dodge and not take some hits. The whips are worth it and very good. The only real setback in my opinion is you do take a lot of damage and the progression is basically the same every time. There's not that much variety. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget you can play it right now on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox for free. Just check out the link in the pinned comment or video description. And remember, new and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across all platforms, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. Available for a limited time only, so make sure not to miss out. Thanks again, War Thunder, for sponsoring this video. Go play a summoner playthrough, and I'll see you guys in the next video.